Hello and welcome to another JNP Trove class review. I am your host JonNario, and today I'll be talking about the Candy Barbarian. The Candy Barbarian is a physical based character that uses a melee as a weapon of choice, so his focus is close range combat. It has a bonus 30% to his base physical damage, and it also has a bonus 20% to his base maximum health without any gear, gems or dragons. And when you level up, you get health regeneration and stability. So this class is one of the easiest classes to get high damage and maximum health. This class also has a good dodge, so this character has a good speed momentum. The Candy Barbarian is one of the most complete class in the game. Here in this video I'll tell you why I say this class is a complete class. And it's one of those classes that can be used as a tank or a DPS, so it's very versatile. Now, let's talk about the combat ability and passive as well. Let's start with one of the best passive in the game. The Candy Barbarian's passive ability is called Gumdrop, and the description reads: when attacked, the Candy Barbarian will sometimes drop range-inducing gumdrops, increasing attack speed and movement speed. This is a very simple ability to explain since there isn't a lot to it. Anyways, when you get hit, you have an approximately 20% chance of spawning a red gumdrop that increases your attack speed and movement speed. You get a plus 100 to your attack speed and plus 20 movement speed for 5 seconds. Getting another gumdrop before 5 seconds does not stack, it just refreshes its timer. And that's literally it. Overall, this passive is good. It's like the Gunslinger's passive is something so simple but effective. This will make your Candy Barbarian do really high DPS even at the beginning portion of the game. And this will help out a lot in speed farming if you want to use movement speed on your class. There's no recommendation on this passive since it is pretty random how you get it. But you get it pretty often and it is a really big bonus. Now let's talk about the basic. The basic attack of the Candy Barbarian has a 1.85 times damage multiplier, which is above average, and it is affected by attack speed, meaning using attack speed gear is good on this class. It has a range of 4 blocks, which is average for a close range class. It also has an average attacks per second. It attacks at 1.55 times a second without any gears or dragon. And it attacks in a slightly diagonal pattern, but it works the same as any horizontal pattern, meaning it has really good crowd control. Overall, this basic attack is good. It has above average damage, good crowd control, and pretty much everything else is average. There's nothing wrong with this basic, it's just a solid basic attack, and it works as it should. And not to mention that this basic gets benefited a lot from the passive. The Candy Barbarian has 2 normal abilities and an ultimate ability like all characters in the game. So let's start with the first ability, Vanilla Swirl Win, and the description reads: the Candy Barbarian spins around attacking all nearby foes and creating healing candy for himself. So yeah, the healing that you get randomly is not from the passive, it's from this ability, just to clarify, because this is a pretty common misconception. Anyways, let's start with the damage. It does a 6.5 times damage, which is slightly above average damage ability. And like all close range ability, it has a range of 4 blocks. This ability attacks around you, so it has amazing crowd control. Unfortunately, this is one of the few abilities that can still cause knockback. So this can send some bosses that are in really high places of their spawn, making it very uncomfortable. And every enemy that you hit with this ability will spawn a healing gumdrop that heals 10% of your maximum health. This does not have any cooldown, so you can hit multiple enemies for a really quick recovery. And this ability has barely any animation time and no cooldown, meaning you can spam this ability real quick. And that is all. Overall, I was going to put this ability as average just for the knockback, but the benefit from the heal and being an ability that you can spam really quick, I will rate it as a good ability. The damage is average, it does have average range, amazing crowd control, but it does have a pretty heavy knockback. Still, the healing that you get is amazing for this class since you want to get hit for the passive to proc. And the healing from this ability will make your flash last a little bit longer. I would recommend you to use this ability as soon as you start a fight. Spam as much as you can, then use the basic since by the time you run out of energy you will have the passive active, and you can use your buff attack speed on your basic. The second ability that you get at level 3 is called Sugar Crash, and the description reads: the Candy Barbarian leaps at enemy, dealing damage over an area, creating gumdrops. This is a lunging ability just like the Neon Ninja Stasis Blade and the Nice Charge. Since this is a lunging ability, you can hold it down if you want to aim, but if you move at half your speed. This is important to know, especially for the Candy Barbarian due to the class gem. I'll get into that later. First, let's start with the damage. It does a 4.5 times damage multiplier, which is below average, and it has a lunging range of 6 blocks. But this ability is determined by movement. So if you hold your stick down, or if you press the S key on PC, you will barely move. Same goes if you have high movement speed and if you're pressing forward, or the W key on PC, and you will move more than 6 blocks. And there's a little trick if you want to move even more. If you press the jump button at the same time you release the leap attack, you will go even further than 6 blocks. But this can cause lag and you might be sent back to where you started. So don't spam the jump and the leap ability at the same time. You will get a lot of rubber banding, trust me. Anyways, moving on. This ability has a 6x6 damage radius, which is an amazing crowd control ability. And when you hit an enemy, you will spawn a red Gumdrop from the passive 100% of the time. So if you hit an enemy with this, you will have increased attack speed and movement speed, which is incredible. And for that last part alone, overall this ability is good. It's probably the best lunging ability in the game. Even though the damage is below average, the benefits are just too great. Decent range that you can manipulate however you want, incredible AoE, and it gets Gumdrop from the passive on each enemy hit. This is honestly a great ability. I would recommend you to start every battle by leaping into it, and so you can get the benefit from the passive. Throwing this ability to kill random mobs is also really good due to the movement speed buff. So this will help those who are using the Candy Barbarian as a speed farmer. The ultimate ability that you get at level 5 is called Ice Cream Cone, which reads: the Candy Barbarian drops a large ice cream cone, dealing damage over an area, creating gumdrops and dropping healing candy for allies. You can hold this ability in case you want to aim this ability. It has a 1 to 3 block range, and this is very important for those who are doing speedruns, and I'll tell you why in a bit. Anyways, let's start with the damage. It has a 15 times damage, which is stupid high. It is the second highest damage multiplier ultimate ability, but right behind the Shadowhunter's ult. Like I said before, you can throw this ultimate ability as far as 3 blocks, which makes this an average close range ability. It does a 7x7 damage radius, which is amazing crowd control. It will also spawn red gumdrops to all players within the area, giving them all 100 plus attack speed and plus 20 movement speed, which is incredible for group play. And it also heals all players 100% of their health, including the Candy Barbarian who threw it, so will make a lot of people survive a little bit longer. And yeah, that is all on this ult. Overall, this is probably the best ultimate ability in the game without any class gem buff. The damage is stupid high. It has a really big radius, so it's pretty easy to hit everything around you. It gives amazing buffs to all enemies in the area, and it heals 100%. It's an all-round great ultimate ability, and obviously it has a long cooldown like any other ability. But like I said before, once you activate the ultimate ability, you can hold it down and the cooldown will start, even if you didn't throw the cone yet. This is a trick that speedrunners do before the battle starts. Still, I will recommend you to use this ability on bosses due to the insane high damage, and you will see a lot of one-shots. Even if you don't see a one-shot, you can do the same trick as you do with the Lunar Lancer with his ult, to do a really high burst damage. Like the passive buff, you have a 5-second duration on the buff, and this ultimate ability has a 40-second cooldown. That's all on the abilities. Now let's talk about the reason people use the barb as tank, the class gem ability. There's a reason you see the Candy Barbarian as a main tank in Shadow Towers, and I'll tell you the reason. The Candy Barbarian's class gem ability is called Scoop and Gloops, and the description reads: Sugar Crash now leaps straight up and crashes down, vacuuming enemy towards you and applying a brief snare. This is an amplification on the really good leap ability, that is Sugar Crush, and it changes the ability quite a lot. It maintains the same damage radius, and gumdrops on enemy hits. But there's a reason I say on the Sugar Crush that knowing that you can hold this ability is very important. So anyways, When you hold down the ability, you will see a large swirling effect around your character, and this swirling effect will pull enemies towards the Candy Barbarian, similar to the Revenant's ult. But unlike the Revenant's ult, this doesn't do any damage and you cannot attack while holding down this ability. So pretty much the only function that it has is that you can pull enemies, which is good for group play, especially in shadow towers. You also can no longer leap forward. If you release this ability, it will leap 4 blocks upwards, and you can do the jumping trick if you want to go even higher. It also applies a snare that lasts for 3 seconds if you hit an enemy. Again, the snare is different than stunning. Snare works on Titan bosses, but the enemy can attack, but it cannot move. And the stun, the enemy cannot move or attack, and it doesn't work on Titan bosses. And yeah, that is all. Overall, I have a tough time rating this ability since it does have really good utility, but it's really bad for solo play. I'm going to give it an average rating, since this ability is really good on group play, but pretty much destroyed the movement that you get from a normal leap. Getting this class gem I will say is optional, but for the most part I would recommend you to get it if you're maining the Candy Barbarian and planning to use the Candy Barbarian on Shadow Towers. If you don't care about Shadow Towers, and if you already have a character for Shadow Towers, then I will say do not get this class gem, since this class gem will make your grinding slower than usual. Anyways, that's the class gem. Now, the subclass, but as always go to the timer on screen or the link in the description if you want to skip the explanation and tiers and such, but for those who want to stay, here are the subclass explanation and their tiers. Enjoy, and I'll see you in a bit. Before I talk about the subclass, I'll tell you how the subclass works first. There is 1 character level and 1 power rank. Levels 1 through 9 gives you the starting tier. At level 10 you get the second tier, then is on a 5 level interval to keep increasing the subclass tier, capping at tier 6 at level 30. And power ranks tier 1 is at 1 power rank, and at 5000 power rank is the second tier. Then is on a 5000 power rank interval, capping also at tier 6 at 25,000 power rank. Also, you get a bonus power rank when equipping a subclass. Levels 1 through 9 you get 15 bonus power rank. At level 10 you get 15 more power rank. Then is every 5 levels you get 15 bonus power rank until you hit level 30, which gives you a total of 90 power rank. So when you're equipping a different character's subclass, this power rank doesn't count towards the tier list. That's why you might see the power rank on a character lower than usual when equipping a subclass. Welcome back, and here's the subclass. The Candy Barbarian subclass, Sugar Rush, has a chance to give either Healing Candy or Gumdrop on enemy hits, and it also gives stability based on your Candy Barbarian's level. Tier 1 on character level, it gives 5 base to your stability stat. Tier 2 is 15, Tier 3 is 30, Tier 4 is 50, Tier 5 is 75, and Tier 6 is 105 more stability. And the subclass on power rank is the Candy Drop. It has a chance of dropping either a Healing Candy or a Red Gumdrop when you hit an enemy. If you get the Healing Candy, it will recover 10% of your maximum health. And if you get the Gumdrop, you will get plus 100 to your attack speed and 20 movement speed for 5 seconds. So pretty much you have a chance to get the Candy Barbarian's passive on any class. But it does have an internal cooldown of 15 seconds, so you will not get it as often as if you were playing with the Candy Barbarian. The power in tiers only increases the chances of this ability to proc. Tier 1 has a 22.5% chance of getting one of the Gumdrops on enemy hit. Tier 2 is 25%, Tier 3 is 27.5%, Tier 4 is 30%, Tier 5 is 32.5%, and Tier 6 is 35% chance of getting a Gumdrop. So powering up the Candy Barbarian for the subclass is not worth it, since you will be getting the same benefit from Tier 1 or Tier 6. And this has a 15-second cooldown, so even if it had a higher chance, you still have to wait quite a bit for it. Still, overall, I will say this is a good subclass. Pretty much it's a slightly weaker version of the Lunar Lancer subclass. It pretty much gives the same attack speed buff, but it doesn't give any damage buff like that other subclass. And the lunacy buff will always give you the buff, and this one is more of a 50-50 chance of getting either the Healing Candy or the Gumdrop. But this one has a 15-second cooldown rather than a 30-second cooldown for the other subclass, so it has a better potential of giving you attack speed. I would recommend you to use this subclass if you don't have a Lunar Lancer unlocked. And since this is a starter class, you can have this subclass as early as the start of the game. That's the Candy Barbarian. I did say that this was one of the most complete classes in the game, and I wasn't lying. First, it is a starter class that you can pick as soon as you log in the game for the first time. And you can also use the free starter class coin that you get from the store to unlock it. Second, this class doesn't need any gear to be good. This class has higher than average physical damage and maximum health, and not to mention the ability to have either decent or really high multiplier. And third, it also gets a lot of buffs from the passive, and it can self-heal. And you can get the attack speed and movement speed buff whenever you want, from the elite ability or ultimate ability. And it has it all. I would recommend anyone to use the Candy Barbarian, since in my opinion it's the best starter class in the game, and it literally has everything that a class needs to be good. My gear recommendation is to get whatever you want. If you want to speed farm with this class, go movement speed, crit damage or attack speed. If you want to do high damage, go crit damage, attack speed. If you want to tank, then go attack speed, maximum health on weapon, and health regen on hand and face. Literally, you cannot go wrong with any gear combination. Same goes with the ring, use whatever you want. If you want to spam the spin attack, go energy regen. If you don't care about the spin attack, then go magic fire if you want more drops. Or critical hit if you want the most critical hit possible. Again, you cannot go wrong with any ring of your choice, unless obviously don't go for magic damage. Even still, if you got a good second stat on a magic damage ring, just use it, since this class alone has higher than average physical damage. Anyways, I'm rambling again. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think on the class in the comments below. And for the next episode, I would like to do the knight again, since I've changed some of my opinions and there's a lot missing in that class review, so I decided to redo it. Still, both for the class after that episode, since we're almost halfway through all classes on Trove. Try not to pick the Tomb Racer, since that's probably is going to get the rework on the next update. So I'm waiting for the rework to consider doing the Tomb Racer. Make sure to leave a like if you want to help the channel grow, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Also check the description for the class review playlist. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and keep on hunting. See ya.